There I am. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Thursday night, and here we are at our Bible study. So, hopefully, everybody is on board. You will notice right off the bat that um, Gay's not here. So, um, she is doing her due diligence at an event, fulfilling her obligations as a school board trustee. She's out there diligently interacting with the community, and I am attempting to do this on my own tonight. So hopefully it will go well. So sorry, I have 5 screens in front of me, so and only one head, so I'm gonna be swiveling around quite a bit. But hopefully it will all work out. So please let me know if you can hear me. I don't see any comments yet on this one screen. Whoops. So just let me know somehow if you can hear me, and I will keep going. So there we go. 5 by 5. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Dan. That's encouraging. So I appreciate that. So tonight we are going to be jumping into Deuteronomy chapter 15. So wow, Deuteronomy has just been a phenomenal book. I've been listening to a couple of commentators say, "Hey, Rich," I'm listening to a couple of commentators, and they've been saying that Deuteronomy is one of the most quoted books in the New Testament, believe it or not. So, and if you know your New Testament, then you realize that, yeah, there's a lot of the verses that we've already spoken of and have yet to study that do, in fact, show up as quotes and or references in various New Testament uh, uh, things that Jesus said, writings of Paul, so on and so forth. So this has been a very, very, very valuable book. And we're going to jump into chapter 15 here in just a second. But a couple of things that I wanted to remind any of y'all who are local here in the SoCal area. So whoops, let me switch over to split screen. There we go. So this Sunday afternoon, if you happen to be in the area, we are hosting our our third Sunday of the month of every month. Oops, I forgot to change the month there. December, okay, December this Sunday, December, what is that? 20th. We are having a lunch gathering at Sorrento's over in Long Beach on the corner of Carson and Orange. And we get there about 11:45 and we stay there for about an hour, hour and a half. So it's a great way to fellowship, phenomenal food, lighthearted atmosphere, lots of laughter, lots of interaction. It's just really a fun time. So if you're in the area, please feel free to stop by. Oh, Rich, you missed the comments. Gay's attending a school board event, so she's a school board trustee. So she has her official school board badge on, and she's over. I think she's in Buena Park actually, um, uh, interacting with the community there, gathering some good data, and doing some really good face-to-face time with the parents and the students that are there. Hello, Miss Polly. Thank you for joining us. Glad you're there. So again, this Sunday, if you're in the area and you want some good food and good fellowship, feel free to drop by Sorrento's in Long Beach on the corner of Carson and Orange around 11:45. So I know I put the wrong date there, but that's what we're doing. Then, if you're in the area, on Christmas Eve, we will be combining the Light Church with the church that I'm sitting in right now, 14:6 Church, we'll be combining to have a joint Christmas Eve service. Lasts for about an hour. Very powerful scripture reading, some great singing, and Advent lighting, candle lighting. Just a really great way to kick off Christmas if you haven't already been doing so. So please feel free to join us for that. Here in Westminster, the 146 address is 5948 Westminster Boulevard. We are on the corner of Westminster and Springdale, and that service will be getting underway about 5 p.m. And like I said, it'll last about an hour. So will Christmas Eve be online? Probably. I haven't talked to Pastor Paul yet, but he tries to broadcast whenever we're having a service here. He tries to broadcast that. So it very well may be, but try and find that out, and I can get back to you, Polly. Whoops, I touched a button I didn't intend to touch. So okay, so yeah. Let's see. Hello, Brian. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're here too. So alrighty. With all that out of the way, let us jump into our study tonight. Okay. For those of you who have your Bibles or your devices or something of that nature, please feel free to open those up to Deuteronomy chapter 15. And away we go. Okay. Deuteronomy 15, starting in verse 1. At the end of every 7 years, you shall grant a release of debts. And this is the regulation for the release of debts. Every creditor is to forgive what he has loaned to his neighbor. He shall not require it of his neighbor and his brother, because the Lord's release has been proclaimed. So this is a reiteration of what's already been spoken of in, I believe it was Leviticus. Okay. The Lord was setting it up so that the Hebrew people, when they came to occupy the promised land, they would, every 7 years, they would cancel out all their debts, and we'll learn the full extent of what that means. Okay, and then every 50 years, or every to begin every seven-year cycle, okay, there would be what's called a year of Jubilee, where all the land that was rented and leased and so on and so forth would be returned to its original owners. Debts would be canceled. Indentured servants would be released. This was God's way of, one, reminding the people that everything belongs to God. It doesn't really belong to them. And secondly, that they would have a spirit of generosity. They wouldn't hold on so tightly to things, finances and things of that nature. So this Hebrew concept is called Shem-it-taw, or Shem-it-taw. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. Okay, but literally that's a Hebrew word that means release. Release. It was to be a season of release. Debts and of many things, actually. So, and the intent behind it, okay, is to actually to make for a kinder, more caring, more harmonious society. Okay, when you know that things are going to revert back to their original owners, and that you don't really own anything permanently. The concept is that you should hang on to it lightly, okay? And it's a good regulation, okay, or practice. It's a good practice. So in verse 2, God's specifically talking about the release of debts, okay? Every debtor, every creditor is to cancel out the debt, okay? If somebody were to approach a neighbor or a business owner or something like that and said, I'm falling upon hard times, I need to borrow some money, the idea would be that no matter what it was, the debt would be canceled. Now, immediately we should see a problem, because if somebody comes to you in year 6 of this cycle and says, "Hey, I need to borrow money," and you as a loan as the creditor, as the person giving the loan, yeah, it was yeah, it would be, you might be reluctant to want to give that individual a loan. But God is saying, no, you need to be generous. You need to do this. You need to give and not expect in return. This is how I want my people to be. Remember, you're not like the rest of the cultures around you. You're set apart to be different. Okay. Oh, hello, Miss Carolyn. Sorry about that. I'm looking all over the place. Can we start at Fort Knox? That's funny, Rich. Okay. Oh, good. Sound level is okay. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes we forget to up our mic on our computer or our listening device. So thank you, Brian. Okay. So, but so let's explore this concept of Shem-it-taw in more detail, because God gets pretty specific with it. Okay. And we'll see a pattern here too. We'll see a pattern here. So, oh yeah. The commentator Callan, he puts it this way. He said, I would add, sadly, unfortunately, or to their detriment, actually, no evidence exists that the Mosaic economy in its details was ever fully implemented with its sabbatical years and years of Jubilee. Historically, although God had spoken this to the people, and as we've learned in our previous studies, and the people embrace this and they say, we'll do it. We'll do it. As you say, Lord, we'll do it. But there's no evidence that historically that the Jewish community, the Hebrew community, the Israelites ever actually implemented this. Okay? They never truly did this, much to their detriment. Okay? And it would culminate with them actually being taken into captivity. If you do the study if you do the study and you look at it very carefully. Oh, Robin's saying her sound is sad or low too. Let me see if I can do something about that. So let's see if I can bump it up a little bit. So my device is over here. Okay, how's that? I'm getting like red lines over here, so not quite sure what's happening, but I can move the mic up a little closer to me, so see if that helps a little bit. So there, I hope that helps. It looks like it may have raised the sound volume too. You sound good to me. Well, thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. Hi, Miss Robbie. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, one commentator that I was listening to earlier this week was saying that if you look at the Babylonian captivity, the Babylonians came in, or they came in roughly 490 years after the Israelites took possession of the Promised Land. That's 70 cycles of 7 years. So 7 is a year of completeness. And so then they were in captivity for 70 years. So God was serious about this. He was serious about this. They broke the covenant, so God allowed the land to reset, restore, rest for a 70-year period, which would be 7 cycles of 7 years. So 7, of course, biblically speaking, is a number of completeness. And we see that all throughout scriptures. Just everywhere you look, we see that. Oh. Brian says his sound problem was his cat stepping on his keyboard. Yeah, we get that too. Our house has cats, so we get that too. So, well, I'm glad you found the problem, and hopefully some of this will penetrate your cat's brains also. So, verse 3. There's a caveat in here, or there's an exception, if you will. Okay, from a foreigner you may require it. What is it? The continued collection of debt. Okay? But your hand shall forgive whatever of yours is with your brother or your fellow Israelite. Okay? Again, we'll talk about this in the next slide, but the concept is that this commandment, this edict of God, was designed specifically for the Hebrew community. Okay? And and the Hebrew community, and to promote harmony and unity within the community. A foreigner is defined as somebody, not necessarily somebody who's not an Israelite, okay, because we know that there were many people that Egyptians and other people groups that joined the Israelites and were absorbed into the culture. Here the term foreigners applies specifically to somebody who does not choose to integrate into the society. Okay, so for whatever reason they are not becoming a I think one of the slides that we're going to see here talks about resident alien. They're choosing not to become a part of the society, but to maintain that separateness. From them, the creditor could go ahead and still collect the debt, so there would be no penalty for that. So I don't know if you can see Rich's comments, Brian, but he called your sound problem a catastrophe. A catastrophe. Okay, so pretty good, Rich, pretty good. So okay, yeah, here we go. Thompson, the commentator Thompson, he adds a little clarity to it. The foreigner, and in the original language a different word is used from resident alien. The foreigner was different from the resident alien who was absorbed into the Israelite community. It was legal to require payment of debts from foreigners during the sabbatical year, for they were not, and this is the important part, they were not included in the family circle of Israel. The law was designed to relieve poverty in Israel and to regulate relations between members of the covenant community. Okay, so hang on to that concept of poverty, relieving poverty, because that's sort of a driving factor in this whole chapter, actually. And sadly, as we read on through, we'll see that Israel sort of failed rather miserably at it. So even up into the time of Jesus commented that the poor will be with you always. So pay attention to these next verses, because we see the promise, and then we see God recognizing the reality, or pointing out. He recognized it all along, but pointing out the reality of what the Hebrews would do. Okay. Verse 4. However, there will be no poor among you, since the Lord will certainly bless you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess, if only you listen obediently to the voice of the Lord your God, to follow carefully all this commandment which I am commanding you today. So it reads a little awkwardly in the English translation, but the way we can understand it is an if-then type of statement. Although it for our English ears, it's kind of flipped upside down. Okay. If you read verse 5 first, if for English interpretation, if you read verse 5 first, if you listen obediently to what I'm telling you, there will be no poor among you, since the Lord will bless you because you're living out what God has called you to do, which is be kind to your brothers, support each other, hang on loosely to the things that I bless you with, and take care of each other. Okay, there won't be any poor among you because you'll be taking care of everybody. Okay, not out of compulsion, but out of a generous heart and a right spirit. We would add. So verse 4 and 5, if we're to understand them, what God is saying, Okay, and he's saying it very clearly. Okay, be obedient. There's that word that we've said over and over and over and over again. This is what God is calling his people to be. Obedient. Be obedient. Okay, listen to what I'm telling you. The result is positive. The result is positive. There won't be any poor among you because you'll be taking care of each other. What a wonderful concept. Okay. And it's not because of your own wiles or your own goodness or your own, it's because the Lord will bless that. He'll bless open hearts and generous hearts. He'll bless that. He'll reward that and make the land prosperous as he's promised all throughout these sermons that Moses is delivering. Okay. He will bless and help the people to prosper. So if you obey, okay? And we'll see how this comes into play in just a little bit. So because what we'll see is that God is kind of foreshadowing, and he's recognizing that even though he's telling the people this, they're not likely to do it to the full extent of what they ought to. Oh boy, we're in luck. Okay, Gay just walked in. Okay, she just walked in, and we now you get both of us. Okay, I'll give her a second to get adjusted here, and I'll do a little shift. Okay, in a moment, and squeeze her in, and then we'll move on with our study. So a double whammy, yes sir. You get a double whammy. Yeah, Rich says. Yeah, Robin asks the question, why did Jesus say we will always have the poor? Well, excellent question, Robin, and it's exactly because the people do not follow what God says. They don't listen to his edicts. They don't give out of generous heart. They don't cancel debts and things like that. I'm going to shift over, and Gay's going to slide in here. Okay. Ta-da! Just a little bit. There she is, everybody. So she's served her community.
Hey, and I have reddish pink on.
Yeah.
Go with your
Hey, look at that. We matched.
shirt.
Okay. We matched. She's going to put her mic on, and then we'll go forward from that. It's up there somewhere. So there it is. Whoa, the big hand reaches forward.
Well.
So there we go. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I had that out. So there was a typo there, Aaron. Robin. Robin, I just called you Aaron. I mess this lady's name up so many times when I'm texting her. It's not even funny. I just called her Aaron. So, okay. So, but, had God given up that they would ever obey? I wouldn't say God's given up, but he recognizes the reality. He recognizes the reality of the human heart and human nature. Okay, and he doesn't give up, but he does, I'll say, scold Israel in the sense that horrifically, because they're taken into captivity. Okay, the Babylonians come in, they destroy the temple, they burn the cities, they capture those that they didn't kill outright. They capture and take them in as slaves, and so God doesn't give up on us per se, but he does chasten us, and in this sense, he will. He's a patient God. Oh, so patient God. Thankfully, he's a patient God, because I would be in trouble if he weren't. Okay, so, but he will chasten. He will chasten. So,
Okay.
So, give your mic a check, Doc.
Check.
There you are.
Hearable. Okay.
Good.
I don't see red lines. Where were you getting red lines? You said you were getting red lines.
Oh, it was going way up to the top. It was going up to the little arrow there, so it was maximum.
Yeah, we'll see how it's like.
Yeah.
You should
yeah.
put
Oh,
the
it's
mic
working
on the
now.
other side.
It's working now.
I
so,
know, but
yeah.
if the mic is like not on the front of your collar, it's on the other side.
Ah.
So
All right, here we go.
if it's going to flop over like that.
Yes. Okay. You wouldn't know I've been dressing myself for some 60 years now, would you? So, okay, there we go. Let's try that.
That might help.
Yeah, let's try
Because
that.
it went like this, you know, so then
Yeah.
it's just not up by your
Alrighty.
mouth.
So I'm not sure why I can't see the audience comments, but I can. So I'm just reading them off of here.
Oh, you just can refresh the screen.
Oh,
So
okay.
let's go over here and do your little
Refresh.
thing.
Oh no.
I don't know if you're signed in on here.
There we go. Now I can see all your comments. Look at that.
I don't know why we're so pink like that.
Yeah, we're big. So,
That's weird.
whoa.
Oh, okay, well, that's even weirder.
Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and keep going forward.
Okay. I don't know why it's like that.
Yeah, it's very large.
Well, at least, okay. Pastor Paul changed something else.
So there we go. So let's let me make sure I touch the right screen here. so let's move on to the next verse. Oh yeah, commentary. So this may answer your question, Robin. This is from Guzik. God established a system where no one must be chronically poor, yet he knew that because of disobedience, there it is, there would be some chronically poor people in Israel. God did not unconditionally guarantee prosperity for Israel, either on a national or individual basis. The Lord did guarantee the opportunity for prosperity for an abundant Israel. So I hope that answers your question. So he didn't give up on them. He gave them opportunity, just like he hasn't given up on society yet, and he gives everybody the opportunity to turn to him. Okay, as we speak, he gives us that opportunity. Yet we know because of what Scripture says that there will be some that will not turn to the Lord. And even on that last day, and they will go to hell cursing the Lord instead of embracing his reality. So
That looks weird because you're not logged in.
Oh, okay. Okay. There we go. Gay's making some technical adjustments, and I think we're good now.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks a little odd because it's not showing, like over here, the audience viewing guests, but it's showing me, but I don't know. You have to refresh it again.
Okay.
I'll go to that little arrow.
That one?
Mm-hmm.
Let's try it again. Whoa. There we go. Okay, let's move forward. What a rough way to go. Indeed, Rich, indeed. So, verse 6.
For the Lord your God will have blessed you just as he promised you, and you will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow, and you will rule over many nations, but they will not rule over you.
Okay, and this is prophetic, and God's saying, this is what will happen if you follow what I'm commanding you.
If you carefully obey all my commands, is what it just said in verse 5.
Yeah.
So then the Lord will bless you as he has promised, and will lend. Yeah.
So two promises. One, there won't be any poverty within the nation of Israel, and two, the nation of Israel will be so prosperous that other nations will borrow from them, but they won't be a debtor country. They'll be a loaner or a creditor country. And some commentators that I was reading and listening to said that this may in fact be a prophecy of the millennium. That we know that Israel, Jerusalem, will be the center of God's kingdom on earth, during the millennium, the 1,000-year, redundant, during the millennial reign, and it's very likely that the nation of Israel, however the nations exist at that time, will be such a prosperous place that they will be a loaner or a creditor country. So this may in fact be a promise that has not yet been fulfilled, but certainly hasn't been fulfilled because Israel did not fulfill their promise to God and disobeyed what God told them to do, which was the first verses that we started with, was to have a Shem-it-taw year every 7 years, okay, and to forgive their cancel debts, cancel servitude, cancel contracts, all kinds of things. They never did it. So they never got to reap the benefits that God said they would reap. So moving along, verse 7.
If there is a poor person among you, and one of your brothers in any of your towns in your land which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart, nor close your hand from your poor brother, but you shall fully open your hand to him and generously lend him enough for his need, whatever he lacks.
Okay. Here God is addressing the attitude of the heart, okay, the spirit of giving, okay, not out of compulsion. Okay, we know that hundreds of years, thousands of years later, the Pharisees would be compulsory in their giving, and they would give to beggars and poor people, but just out of compulsion, with no kindness, with no mercy, with no concern for the welfare, but just for their concern that they fulfilled their tithing obligation. So very, very, very different set of circumstances. When somebody gives out of generosity and gratitude, it's incredibly different. So, can I have $1,000? I wish I could, Rich. I wish I had $1,000 to give.
Yeah.
So I can give you like a one of those chocolate bars.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, $100,000 bar. I can give you one of those, but that's about it. So, but well worth asking. Okay. But yeah, but the idea is to be generous in your giving, okay? And here God is acknowledging that there will be poor. There will be poor, and then again, like we said earlier, Jesus will reiterate that a thousand years later when he said, the poor will always be with you. And what he's really doing is it's really an indictment of their hearts, not just theirs, but
right.
Humanity's hearts. Right? I've given you these opportunities. I told you I would bless you, and you won't do it. You won't do it. So there will be poor amongst you until the second coming, because you're not willing to change your hearts. Okay, but especially, so this is directed again. This whole chapter is specifically and pointedly directed towards the Israelites. Okay, so although there's good moral principles in here, we as New Testament believers are not under the same compulsion as the Israelites were, but nonetheless there's good moral teaching in here, and that's to be generous, people, to be generous, to give, to meet the needs of others. Okay. To be looking out for each other, to offer up to keep the welfare of others in mind. Okay, this is a principle that we teach in when we're coaching couples that are about to get married. We always say this. We said, in your marriage, you should each strive, husband and wife, or male and female, bride and groom, each should strive to put the other ahead of themselves. And if each of you is doing that, it's always an upward circle. It's always going to spiral upward and not downward. Okay. So.
Right. I was just thinking about how, like you probably said this, but like this whole section about the 7 years and giving giving everything back, and not having the land, not harvesting and everything. It's God's reminder that it all belongs to Him.
Yeah.
Israel is inheriting it. I mean, you said that, but it's this part too about always being generous to those that are poor or in need. If you think about it from God's perspective, I mean, what do we look like? I mean, we are all poor in spirit. We are all needy creatures. I mean, we all need a Savior. We all need salvation. I mean, we're all sinners. We're all basically in that category of need, And so what does God do? I mean, He loves us out of His grace and His mercy. He loves us beyond measure. He loves us so much that He, came as His Son and He died for us, So, I mean, He wants us to, realize, it's all His anyway. It all belongs to Him. He's just blessing us with the inheritance, the things He's giving us. But He blesses us with His grace and mercy because we're all needy sinners. We're all poor, and we all need that generous benefactor that will, give us what we need out of that person's, out of God's grace and mercy.
Amen.
So it's all a reminder. So when we have a hard heart and we are tight-fisted and we don't take care of the poor and are not generous to our brothers or the foreigners among us, we're basically just we're not obeying God, but we're also not acknowledging that it belongs to Him. It's not ours anyway.
Right.
So we should be generous because He's going to continue to bless us.
Yes, exactly.
And meet our needs.
It's a very powerful lesson.
Yeah.
Thompson said the poor and needy were the special concern of God, and the covenant family was expected by God, expected to ensure the welfare of every member of the family. Hence, Israelite law was framed to protect the underprivileged. And we've talked about this before. We've talked about that the Israelites were they were to be set apart for sure, but they were set apart because their laws and their customs and such protected the widow, protected the orphan, protected the elderly, protected the lesser of society, whereas the cultures around them did not always do that. In fact, exploited the young, literally sacrificed the babies, exploited women, treated them as property and not as individuals, and just slaves were terribly mistreated, and things of that nature. So the Israelites were indeed different from the surrounding cultures, though they failed. Some people would say spectacularly. They did fail, but yet they were still moving towards what God desired of culture. And so the lessons that we can take here is that God does care about the poor. He does care about the needy. And He puts that responsibility, if you will, upon us because He knows how much it will benefit us to be a generous people.
Yeah, Robin says, follow the golden rule.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Rich says, rich man, poor man, but still poor.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I remember seeing in a book one time, literally every culture has a form of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would. It may be worded slightly different and so on and so forth, but essentially it's the golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated. So absolutely, yeah. So all right, moving along, verse 9.
Be careful that there is no mean-spirited thought in your heart, such as the 7th year, the year of release of debts is near, and your eye is malicious toward your poor brother, and you give him nothing. Then he may cry out to the Lord against you, and it will be a sin in you.
Yes, yes. Carolyn says we should realize and be good stewards with his gifts now. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And when we realize, thank you, Carolyn, when we realize that they are indeed gifts from the Lord, then it puts it in a different perspective. Okay. We should be less inclined to say, I did this. Look what I did. And I should just like drop out of the equation, right? And we should start realizing, look at how the Lord has blessed us. Look at it. So yeah, great point. Great point. So yeah, so again, God is addressing the root cause of the issue. Mean-spirited in your heart. Do not be mean-spirited in your heart. Mean-spirited thought. Okay, so he's addressing our attitudes, our thoughts, our the way we conduct ourselves, right? And again, I talked about this at the very beginning, but there's that tendency to say, "Oh man, this is the sixth year. You know, I'm gonna have to forgive this dude. You know, I'm not gonna lend him anything. Then I won't lose any money that way." Whoa, hold up, hold the horses. That's not what God said. God said you're supposed to take care of people no matter what.
Right.
Okay. Imagine if an EMT, you're laying there in a car accident, and the EMT says, "Whoa, I'm off of work in 5 minutes. So sorry, dude, you're gonna die." So no, I mean that's very nonsensical, right? I mean it's absurd. It's absurd. But in the same way, God is saying, don't put a time clock on your generosity. Don't be, watching the clock and thinking, is this a safe bet? If that's our attitude, it's the wrong attitude. Who's Stuart? I don't know who Stuart is. Never mind. Okay. So never mind. Okay, Rich, never mind. So yeah, yeah, think of it in those terms. Think of those in those terms. Would you want an EMT working on you, trying to extricate you from a horrible car accident or a fall down the stairs or something like that? Would you want them to say, "Nope, not going to do it. Only got 10 more minutes on my shift"?
Right.
If you think of it in those terms, this is what we're talking about here. A generosity of spirit. A generosity of spirit. Nope, I'm going to rip my shirt if I crawl in that wreckage there, and it's going to cost me at the dry cleaners. No, that's not what we're talking. But God is fully aware. He's fully aware, and he calls out the Israelites, and in doing so, he's calling out all of his people, us. Okay, be careful that there is no mean-spirited thought in your heart. Okay. Or that your eye is malicious towards your poor brother, and you give him nothing, then he may cry out the Lord against you, and it will be a sin in you. Yeah, if the person cries out, and it's not a curse per se, it's the person crying out, "Lord, I needed help. Nobody's helping me." If somebody's saying nobody's helping me, that's against us. That's against us. So, hello, Miss Lori. Thank you for joining us. So we're at verse 9 of Deuteronomy chapter 15, if you're just jumping on board. All right, moving along. Verse 10.
You shall generously give to him, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give to him, because for this thing the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in all your undertakings. So again, like over and over again, throughout all of the Old Testament so far, is that, and especially here in Deuteronomy, when Moses is having God teach the second generation, about, what he's done and who he is and how he wants them to live moving forward when they're going into the inheritance that he's giving them, the promised land. But over and over again, it's about the heart. It says right here, you shall give generously, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give to him. So he doesn't want us to just obey the law without having love for him, and out of that love for him, then there's obedience, and naturally. But it's all about what's in our heart. God just really, really cares about our heart, how we feel, how our hearts are towards him, and therefore towards one another,
Right.
towards his creation. How can we be good stewards of his creation if we don't care? We can't. We wouldn't. So, and we can't care for our fellow human beings if we don't care about God and what he's done, what he's created. So it's interesting to me. It says, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give. So he's like, don't just give. Okay, God said I need to give to this poor guy, so here I am giving. But on the inside, you're going, oh, and next year I'm going to have to, whatever, release him from debt, or,
Right.
like this guy should just be doing something else,
Right.
He's like, that doesn't count. If your heart's not in it and correct, it does not count.
Exactly. It's all about the attitude. This is not a prosperity gospel kind of thing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because there are a lot of people who buy into the prosperity gospel who are doing it expecting to get something back from God. That's not what God is saying. God is saying, I will bless you, but it'll be the way that God wants to bless us.
Right.
Not the way that sometimes prosperity preachers build this expectation. It's like, yeah, it's okay to want that super expensive car that or that whatever, right? God will bless you in ways that you cannot even imagine. And when I say that, it might not be the ways that you do imagine, that we imagine, right? It will most likely be in ways that are far superior to what you have imagined, and it'll always be with your best interest at heart. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind. So give generously and with no grumbling, and again, it's not just the outward action of giving, laying that money down or whatever it is. Okay, it's how you're doing it.
Right. What's in
doing
your heart?
it.
What's
Yeah.
the heart behind what you're doing, not just the actions. So I like what Wiersbe says about this sort of about this section. The Sabbath year was a test of faith, but it was also a test of love. Suppose a poor Jew needed a loan and the Sabbath year was only 2 years away. The borrower would then receive an extra year for paying back the loan, and the loaner would lose the interest for 1 year. If the loaner looked at the loan strictly as a business proposition, he would turn it down. But that's the very attitude the Lord wanted to correct.
Yeah.
It wasn't a business proposition, it is ministry to a brother.
Right.
If the wealthier Israelite closes his heart and his hand to the needy man, he would hurt his brother and grieve the Lord who had given him all the wealth he had. Like I said, it all belongs to the Lord. Therefore, he was to open both his heart and his hand to help his brother, and the Lord would see to it that he's compensated for his generosity. And there's a bunch of scriptures listed there. Proverbs 14:21 and 31, 19:17, 21. Bunch of Proverbs talk about how when we are generous in giving what the Lord has given to us, God's going to bless you abundantly again, giving it back to you.
Absolutely.
And Ephesians 4:28, 1 Timothy 6, anyway, bunch of scriptures listed there. But I just like that, that it's a ministry. So God's literally teaching his people how to do ministry.
Absolutely, yeah. God will always know your heart. Absolutely, Rich. Absolutely.
Yeah, he knows your heart anyway. So
Right.
You can look good on the surface and you can say the right things and do the right actions. But if it's not in your heart, like you said, Rich, God knows.
Yep, exactly.
He sees it all.
So good word, good word. So, well, and then here we go. Here comes the reality.
Yes, so verse 11, for the poor will not cease to exist in the land. Therefore, I am commanding you, saying, you shall fully open your hand to your brother, to your needy and poor in your land.
Okay. Now, several people that I watch, they think they're so clever and they think they're so smart, and they're like saying, oh, look at the Bible, it's filled with contradictions because just a few verses
Verse
back.
4 said, there shall
said,
no be poor among you. And then
Right.
verse 11 says, the poor will not cease.
Actually, this is an indictment against the hearts of the people, because God is just saying, like, yeah, I know what I'm telling y'all, and I know you're not going to do it,
Right.
and therefore the poor will be in the land.
Right.
So it's kind of this is kind of a sad verse to read because God is saying, this is what I desire of you. This is what I know will bless you. This is what I know will be for your benefit as individuals and as a community. But I know the reality of what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I know
because
the
they
reality.
never did the year of
never did
Jubilee
it.
thing. That's why they went, like you said, went into captivity
Exactly.
for the 490 years, because it's 70 times 7. They were
Mhm.
supposed to every 7 years, and God gave them 70 years to do it, and they never did it.
Right.
So,
And so he says, I'm commanding you, open your hand fully
right.
to your brother, to your needy, and poor in your land.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's being very specific, and this is Jew to Jew, right? He's directing this as Israelite to Israelite.
Right.
Okay, this is God saying, you're a set apart people. Act like a set apart people.
Right.
Right. He goes, the poor are not going to cease to exist. Basically, what this is saying is that unless you do this, this is what I'm not fooling.
Right.
I ain't playing here. Do this. Okay.
Right.
This is what God is saying.
But
Right.
God knows. He knows
Right.
his people. He knows their hearts, and I know He knows
Right.
what they're going to do and not do. But He still gives them opportunity and gives us opportunity
Right.
to do the right thing.
And this is an indictment against people. If somebody were to say, wait a minute, Lord, I thought you said that you would bless us. I thought you said we were a chosen people. I thought you said that our land would be prosperous, a land overflowing with milk and honey. And then all God has to do is say, is that a beggar over there?
Yeah. Why is there a poor?
Is that person walking around in rags? Is that elderly lady gleaning the edges of the field, trying to find little bits of grain to nourish herself?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a pretty strong admonition, and it's not because God is He wants us to be a generous people. He's a generous God.
Right.
He said He died on a cross for us.
Right.
You can't get any more generous than that.
Right. And we are paupers. We are rags.
Right.
We are, that's who we
Right.
are, but yet He died for us.
Right. Right.
And then gave us eternal life and clothed us in His robes of righteousness.
Right.
Gave us the robes of kings, eternal kings, crowns of glory, mansions, in eternity. We are treated like princes and princesses,
Right.
We are daughters and sons of the one true King, royalty.
Right. So
Crazy.
What possibly could compare to that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Right.
So, like you can have a building named after you. You can have a stable full of automobiles and 17 different homes and 5 different continents. But what does that compare to heaven and to God who holds the universe in His hand? So yeah, He's serious about being generous because He is beyond generous with us. Just the fact that He didn't strike me down this very morning for sin, knowing and unknowing that I committed against Him, speaks of His generosity. And I'm sure
His
each
mercy,
and every one of us,
right?
each and every one of us can say the same thing. Yeah, He is a generous God, and He wants His people to be generous. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, this is the sad reality. Thompson again. With unashamed realism, the writer concludes that, in fact, there would always be poor in the land because Israel would always be disobedient. Mm-hmm. Hence, there would always be opportunities to display generosity to the poor.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the sad reality of the situation. So verse 12.
If your fellow countryman, a Hebrew man or woman, is sold to you, then he shall serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year you shall set him free. And when you set him free, you shall not send him away empty-handed.
So yes. Oh, Dave has a comment. He says, sometimes to give money is enabling the addiction, advice from mission workers, but occasionally reaching out to a person with help contacting and can restore them. Yes, yes. The chapter, the verses specifically address finances. That's a good point. But going that extra mile to help somebody,
right.
However that looks in modern reality, is the point. It's the generous heart, taking the time to call a social worker, a family member, to drop somebody off
right.
at a rescue mission or something like that. Indeed, right. Indeed, the verses specifically address finances, but again, that's a great point. But
right. Sometimes if people are quote unquote poor because they have an addiction or another issue, then right. It's not saying, the Bible's not saying here to just blindly give money to everyone who is in need of money, because like the point you're making, David, is well taken. You know, that in yes. certain situations, giving them money is actually going to allow them to, make themselves worse. So
right,
the
right.
intervention that is needed is not just always finances in every situation. It might be helping them connect with a family member, or getting into a program, or getting another type of help. But they're still in need, and you're supplying that need, or at least trying right. to connect them with a way.
Right. Whenever we used to take groups for 30 years, we took groups down to the Long Beach Rescue Mission, and we would always advise them. We would always advise first timers, particularly. We would advise them, never give any money to any of the residents at the rescue mission. Okay. You are more than welcome to pray with them, to encourage them, to listen to them, to shake their hand, to give them a hug if appropriate. Okay, but do not give them money. They are in a rescue mission. The rescue mission knows best how to take care of them. We are there, as David is pointing out, to compassionately pray, support, encourage, and uplift, and give the gospel. That is our job. Giving somebody the gospel is in fact one of the richest things that we can do. So yeah, make no mistake about that. So so excellent point. So so now here we're moving into the next portion of this chapter, and note very carefully the terminology here. If a fellow countryman, a Hebrew man or
right.
woman, okay,
right.
So a fellow Israelite is sold to you, then he or she shall serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year you shall set him free. And when you set him free, you shall not send him away empty-handed. Okay, we're almost out of time. This is a majorly packed verse, but a couple of quick things. We need to set the stage for this very, very, very carefully, because rightly so, oftentimes when we hear the idea of selling another person into bondage or slavery, or some translations use the word slavery, others use the term bond servant or servant. But here, especially Americans, we tend to bristle at the idea of slave, and rightly so. We bristle at the idea. We're not talking about man stealing here. We're talking about individuals who voluntarily enter into a contract of servitude to pay off a debt. Okay, but even that comes with stipulations. So we are out of time. We're going to end here. Great comments tonight. Thank you so much for putting up with our little technical difficulties. We will not be meeting next Thursday.
Right, because that'll be Christmas Day.
I think that'll be a special day.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys all have somewhere else to be, probably.
So we
but
wish you all.
we will be meeting on New Year's Day.
Yes.
So next week will be dark, or not, meeting, not broadcasting with you all. But on New Year's Day, January 1st, 7 p.m., Lord willing, we're planning on starting off the year by finishing Deuteronomy chapter 15.
And it's a great chapter to finish
Yeah,
on. To start the year off, because it's talking about generosity. So what a great way. So Merry Christmas to one and all.
Merry Christmas,
Jesus
you guys.
is Lord and our King, and we are so thankful that He did what He did 2,000 years ago.
Hallelujah.
And may you each be blessed and just truly reap the benefits of generosity this year.
And don't forget, if you're local and you want to come hang out with us in person, this Sunday we'll be at Sorrento's Italian Kitchen in Long Beach, on Orange and Carson at around 11:45 or 12. We're there for a couple hours, so you can drop by anytime and say hi and grab some great food if you're hungry. And then also, if you need a Christmas Eve service at 5 p.m. here in Westminster, we'd love to see you guys. Ty Siago will be leading worship with a team. So some of you know her and have heard her lead worship for years. So anyway, it'd be great to see you guys on Christmas Eve here in Westminster at 14-6 Church.
5948 Westminster Boulevard.
Have a blessed Christmas, you guys. I love you, and thank you so much for logging on and being interactive. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next year on January 1st, if we don't see you before then. Good night.